How's everybody doing? My name is Chuku Yenum Opone, but everybody calls me Yenum. It's so nice to have everybody on here. If you're watching for the first time, welcome. Thank you. Come again. So today I'm gonna just be, you know, walking everybody through my last game jam, which I did with four amazing people. It was the GJL Game Parade Jam, which is Game Jobs Live, and I built this with Daniel Slater, Sebastian Shaparo, Jamie Campbell, and Oliver Suchino. So I'm gonna be running you guys like how we came about this, like okay, like day to day basically, because it was a 10 days game jam. Day zero, a day to the game jam, we just created like a rough Miro sheet, preparing for whatever team comes back, whatever team will be announced. So we left everything blank and just hoping, okay, let's just put the basics together. So what we were like first person based, narrative based, and level design focused. So day one, the game theme was announced, and the game theme came back as feedback loop, and it's really like disrupted initial plans, but we had to like make sure we didn't go out of the initial first person level design narrative story we wanted to tell. So we tried to integrate that feedback loop into it. So we started putting um references together, to just come up with something. And there's a whole lot: environment, art. We're writing some rough narratives, designs. Then this was like where we did like the first original story core. Every one of us, we have like daytime jobs. So for the 10 days of this jam, we had between 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Sometimes I stay late till 11 p.m. with Daniel or Sebas or whoever is still available late, just to get this project out. So basically, I created the GitHub account and I kind of documented basics, core features, what our development workflow should look like, and what our repo structure should look like. So this was how um, I wrote down the folder structure, which everybody read and they understood where to put what. Assets should go into assets. If we are using any struct enumeration, they should go into. So this made the workflow very clean, very smooth, and amazing. So there was like instruction on how to clone. I also added like every the team members profile with their LinkedIn and the goal for the project basically. So this was basically added after, but I left like an empty space for the screenshots and demo of when we finished the project. And there was also like feedback and collaboration for people who want to like respond to it. Also, we also made this project open, so in case anybody wants to go through it and look at our blueprints, that's fine. So because it's a game jam, I just use blueprints for this. I didn't bother going into C++ because I wanted to just prototype quick and hand over to the designers to, use whatever mechanic I make. And from our Miro, I had to start picking out coming up with like mechanics to make. So basically I needed a way for the past and future transportation, which led me to making the teleportation mechanic. So how did I go about the teleportation mechanic? Instead of like initially I wanted to like create two characters and switch between them. I was like, nah, that would be too intensive. I was looking for like a minimal way to, do that. So I focused on using data for that. And let me just show you what that blueprint looks like. Uh, so teleports here. So this was supposed to be like the teleportation blueprint that handles um the teleportation logic. So I created like a boolean whereby if I call this teleport to granddad. So basically I wanted a situation whereby this can be placed around in the level, and based off of what is set, if it is teleport to the granddad, if the sun goes through this thing, it switches to the granddad and vice versa. So I also added like a game instance reference because I used the game instance to track the locations of both grandfather and grandsons. It was on the game instance I so this is where like most of the datas are stored because I wanted everything to be to use a singleton technique whereby everybody could access the grandson and granddad location. So even if it's an actor or this thing, because I didn't know like what the future development would look like. So I was just I placed it here so that in case I wanted to access it easily. So as you can see, I had like a transform location for both the granddad and the grandson. And I chose transform because whenever you want to switch, I wanted you to come back in that position facing where you left off. Because if you just use location, it would use the rotate to 0, 0 and the normal scale. So to initialize the instance in the level where they are supposed to start, instead of using player start, I place like player start in the level to get the actual XYZ location for both the granddad and grandson. And this was like the function I created so that you can update a granddad location and a grandson location. And you can also get those locations using pure functions. So everything is here on the game instance, and this is what updates the player last position. Either it's a granddad or a grandson, and does that. So this, let me show you what that looks like. As you can see in the video here, I was trying to like place it in the level, and you can see I'm toggling the teleport to granddad and teleport to grandson, and I duplicated it. You can see I toggled it off, teleport to grandson, so that when you play, you see if you go to the first one, it switches back to your original position. If you go to the second one, it switches back to where you were before. So that gave like that feel of granddad, grandson teleportation, basically. It's easy, but coming up with it was quite, troublesome. So day two, there was a bug whereby it looped and crashed the entire game. Why? Because when you teleport away from the granddad and go to the grandson, it's still like the same position. So it just keeps looping and looping. So I had to like anytime a teleportation happens, so that happened on the I think it was begin overlap when you overlap the box. So I had to add so as you can see, depending on the player reference, it either teleports to the granddad or grandson. And I added destroy actor so that it doesn't come back to that component box and loops again because it keeps on teleporting if you don't destroy it. Um, but the two I had to share with him so that I could like place it in the level just to test and see how it would flow. Then the narrative wasn't ready because Sebas was still working on the narrative. Jamie was still designing like the assets for the levels that will replace the blockouts. And I think Daniel already finished like the blockouts on day two. So day two, after I and Daniel finished testing, we moved into the interactive system because we wanted the players to interact with items in the level that will lead them to different action. So if we go back to the Miro board, you would see like there's like a key, there's plant a tree, restoring pillar, restoring bridge. So this is like the first action by the grandfather. He plants the tree, which takes you back to the sun using the tree to cross the river. Then he comes back to where the granddad restores like a pillar that was like damaged so that when the son in the future is able to pass through that building because the pillar has been restored. And the bridge, so if you can see we numbered it 1, 2, 3, then 4. So we're looking at 4 interactions and um how they are going to play out in the narration. So I think in day three, Sebas had already like drawn out like a whole lot of narratives here for each interaction and how they play into the story, the seed, the pillar, the bridge, the keys. As you can see there, so I don't show you so much of this because this is Seba's work. Yeah, he did all of this, and I basically read through it, and he better helped me understand how I was going to create that interaction system. And this was day two log. As you can see, this was like the first listen for the interactive system. It's you could interact with the cone and it tells you the action you should perform. It gives you information of what the item does and all of that. And it was using like a tracing system. And I created like a profile channel for interactables. Uh, that's basically the interactive system. It wasn't like a lot. So day three, I was like choked up with work, so I didn't really do anything. But on day four, after work, I came back and I linked up with Daniel, and he had already like started placing Jamie's asset. As you can see in the video, he had already started placing Jamie's assets in the level, and you can see he had started replacing like blockouts for interaction. So he was using the interact delegate I created for interact. So anytime you press the action button, it's supposed to trigger that blueprint implementable event. So which is why he placed like this cube and made the thing rotate whenever the action plays out. So basically it was the base that was supposed to be used for other items as well. Day five was like the bridge building, which is the same thing. It worked with the interactive system, but this was like more complicated because we had to like, um, the initial bridge, we had to like, there was no asset, we need to make the bridge damaged first and make it come back as a clean bridge. But for this one, we just placed like basic cubes to switch between them, which later in the coming days, whenever Jimmy was finished with the actual prop, it was replaced. Then the broken pillars, which is the video you are watching, it was supposed to be implemented in here. Yeah. So this was day five basically. We were almost rounded up on day five to be honest. Yeah, but we just started polishing. So day six was the day I and Sebas like had like a call. So as you can see in the video, it was I and Sebas who I was playtesting while he was, guiding me on where to place the narrative box in the level and how they are supposed to link with the story. So we're testing everything, and this was happening over Discord as well. As you can see in the level as well, a lot of things have been improved and modified. Everything was looking better and cleaner. You can see the assets that all these 3D assets was designed by Jamie. Lest I forget. This was all Jamie. He designed all of this, and the initial blockouts made by Daniel was replaced with all of these assets. So you can see the teleportation was working, and that and Sebas was, happy about that, how it was transitioning. Daniel joined the call. This was also over this in testing different sounds, making sure all the sound effects was working nice.
Which one? That one?
Yeah, that one. But
Generic at 5.
We're still like trying to, make everything look good, just checking if anything was out of place, testing all the mechanics, all the sounds, if the story flowed properly, the teleportations are working right. And the way this level was created, it was two levels were created actually, but we streamed it. So there is stream A and stream B. Stream A was the
if
grandson,
you
while
continue,
stream B
before doing
was the
that,
granddad.
if you continue
It was
this
all in
path
one
here,
level, but
the next
under
audio
like
will be a little bit
we're
closer
persisting it basically.
to that
So it was a
previous
way to
teleport.
also optimize the
So
entire
that one,
game and make it
yeah,
look better.
I'm
This
making
was
it
mainly
to
done by
be
Daniel because he
closer,
was like in charge of,
closer to the teleport,
anything
so it
level,
has more
blockout,
space
level cleanup,
to play.
assets in level. That was like his forte. We are on to the eighth. Yeah, this was the
Nice.
eighth. We did play
I think I
tests.
like all of these places
We're
except
just play
the
testing
one I
it,
talked about
making sure
whereby it
everything
was
works
packing
because we had
the
like 2 days to
post.
submit. And after this play test, we bumped into. Okay, yeah,
I've also
this
made
was
it
where
so
we were
like the player
excited,
can't
and
cross
that the
unless they interact with it.
the bridge was working. Yeah, because we're having like so
As long as the
much
pillar
trace
works, I'm
errors
happy.
and the likes.
Please,
Yeah.
please let the pillar work.
So let me just allow you to enjoy our conversations.
It will work.
Yes, yes, Yenim. Yes, yes, Yenim. Legend. So I've also adjusted some things, so I'll show you in a second when this trigger goes.
Yeah, I saw
So
this. Yeah,
on day 8, after this whole
this is
session,
one of the
so I,
reasons
I
why I
started
said
building like the first version of it, which led us to like a very huge error. And I think we wrote it in one of these criticals. It was okay, yeah, criticals. So we bumped into like an asset error here while building. So it wasn't able to cook because some of the assets we used were in the I think it was in the editor, engine editor, yeah. So the references were in the, especially what was used in the landscape and all of that, while the landscape was being created was in the editor materials. And when I was checking the Unreal forum, so basically when you're trying to build, if you use anything within editor, it would fail. So which led me to go into like those editor materials. I had to like start bringing out anything that's because it basically gave me like links, file paths to where all of these things were. As you can see in this, these were like file paths. So I had to like trace where all these things were. I had to move them out into core. And if you can see in core, I created like functions. I moved all of this out from editor. Then I like re reconnected them instead of using the ones in editor. I called the ones in core. I think there was another one like assets, but basically that was like what was causing the error. But anything that was in editor, I brought it out of the editor. Like I duplicated it, brought it out into the core, and like reprinted it to use the actual thing. Also, I had like everything was using interface, the instance, game mode, interactables, main player, and the player controller. So there was no casting in this project. Everything was basically using interface, which made like our references smaller and cleaner, and more optimized. And finally, we built the first version and, published it on day 9, which was the day. So we had like a whole day to the last day. So we're just chilling on day 9, just going over the game, playing, play testing. Then on day 10, Jimmy had like this whole crazy idea that he did like some new um, level design, what is it called, the weather and the color palettes. So it made everything darker to look more, sad and moody. So this was quickly done on day 10, and I had to like rebuild it. So this was like the final build on day 10. We had the damned GJL build, if, as you can see, version 1.1.0, because this was not a patch, it was like a minor fix. So minor fix in the sense that the entire level was changed, the mood and everything, because this was the initial palette. As you can see, this was the first look of, this was granddad, grandson, grandson, granddad kind of palette. But we switched to, this was now the granddad palette, and this was the grandson scene, because Jamie wanted to give like more, you know cool, sad, and happy vibe. So that was it. He's an artist. I think he will best explain it. That was not my place to explain. But basically, we're able to like, complete all of our core systems. Our in progress was all done and planned features. Maybe in the future we could extend the story because you could end this game in about 10 minutes if you do everything right. If you don't do everything right, you might take some time. So, and here comes the end, and I hope you guys enjoyed like me explaining this whole process to you guys. And if you have any questions, drop it in the comment section. Try to download the game and play it and give us feedback on each page. You can also follow each of us on LinkedIn. We worked really hard on this. And also, I didn't even mention Oliver worked on most of the UIs, the cover art, the design, all of this. This was Oliver. And we made a game called The Damned, and we are proud of ourselves. Thank you so much for watching, guys.